Hey y'all, this is David, the Georgia photographer, and today I'm down in Trenton, so I'll have decent cell signal, and I'm doing a live stream to talk about camera stuff. So, to get this thing moving right away, I want to just say that today I'm going to roll this camera around a little more this way to get some of that flare out of that corner, because it's pretty brilliant. But I'm down at, this is a closed down store, so the highway's right there. Hopefully the audio noise won't be too high. Hey Bass Angler, thank you for coming in. Let me know if the sound of the vehicles is too bad. If it is, I'll go sit in the truck, but I'd rather be outside if I can stand it. But I figured today we could chat about just whatever was on our minds, and the state of the industry as a whole. Audio is perfect. Awesome. Good. The projects I've been working on. Jacob, how you doing? So it actually did work. In other words, I posted it yesterday. For a change, I actually made a post. And then I got out of the house like almost an hour late. Sorry about that, guys. But I've been working on sorting out my camera gear here lately. Let's see, that'd be the first thing I was going to talk about. I'm going to set this down so I don't have to hold it the whole time. Yeah. And pick up this really cool thermos I bought at Leica Store Miami. It's got Oscar Barnack's patent of the original Leica 35 millimeter camera that he designed in like 1931, I think. 32, so it's up here. But it's a thermos. It's a clean canteen is all it is. But it's cool. It's got their logo on it and stuff. But I just thought it was neat. It's camera oriented, so that's why I got it. But it was kind of pricey. But it actually is an amazing thermos. But I made a cup of good pour over coffee before I left the house. I figured I'd have that instead of just cheap rock gut from the convenience store. Yeah. Anyway, I've been trying to kind of reevaluate my gear situation, because my gear situation is insane. I have all of this hardware and I don't use most of it. I've got gas so bad when it comes to buying equipment. So I decided at the beginning of this year that by the end of the year, I was going to pare down my equipment to no more than 3 cameras. Yeah, you heard that. 3 cameras, which is still one more than you need. I always say that you should have more than one, just in case you drop and break the one you're using, you have a spare. So I'm going to get it down to 3, and I'm going to reduce my lens count down to the lenses I use. Oh, that's been a tough one. I'm almost a lens collector. I am about this close to being a lens collector. So I have these lenses and I love them, but I don't hardly ever use them. So the other day, let's see, what day was it? Tuesday or Wednesday of last week, I sold my 70-200 f2.8 Nikkor to one of the guys that works for me in my machine shop. He was looking for the 70-200 f2.8 because he's wanting to shoot some photos of his little girls in the soccer and on the soccer field and such. And so I was like, dude, I got one, I don't use it. I'll let you look at it, see if you're interested, and I'll just sell it to you, whatever the going rate is, and that way you don't have to pay shipping or sales tax or any of that. We'll just do the deal. And he's like, sure, I'll look at it. So I showed it to him. We shot some photos with it. He's all about it. So now I don't have a 70-200 f2.8 no more. I have literally not mounted that lens on a camera in over 2 years that I can remember at all. So it's like, it's a complete waste of money for it to sit there in the cabinet. So I liquidated it. As much as I hate to say it, the next one that goes probably going to be the 2-500 Nikkor, because I don't use it. It sits in the cabinet. I haven't mounted it since I got my 500 phase Fresnel. I haven't mounted it on the camera. I just haven't used it. So it's, yeah, I understand the zoom has functionality, but I just ain't been using them. And they're just sitting there going to waste. It's just, and I want the space. I want to clean up my photography room some too, but let's see. There's been some comments. Let me see what they've been saying. No need to say it's pricey when talking about Leica stuff. Yeah, Leica thermos, $3,500. You gotta pay that Leica tax because it's got labels printed on it. You have about enough lenses for a used lens store. I do have enough lenses for a used lens store. Absolutely have enough lenses. It's ludicrous how many lenses I have. And I sold a bunch of them last fall. I sent a bunch of them to Robert's Camera. But I have this affliction. I can't help. I get on eBay and I start looking at lenses, and then I just like, well, I'll just take that one. It's like, dadgummit. Wish I could quit doing that. Just use them. There goes a nice like 64 Chevrolet pickup truck someone's working on. But yeah, it's just something that I've realized is like, as a American consumer, I spend a lot of money on unnecessary equipment, and it's just time for me to back off of that and just start, like, put this stuff back out into the marketplace and let somebody that'll use it have access to it. Could you do it with just one lens? Well, I shoot my wildlife with a 500 face Fresnel. That's the only lens I use for my wildlife. And then almost all of my street stuff I've been shooting with 50mm. I use this one right now. It's 50mm f2 on this SL2, and I shoot that, and then I have a 35mm Voigtlander on my CL, which has the same field of views pretty much. I mean, mathematically it ain't perfect, like 52 or something, but it's close enough. And I've been using that exclusively for several months now, and I've kind of got to where I like it. It's kind of liberating to get out of the truck, just grab your camera, some batteries, and just go, and not even worry about having to carry a backpack full of lenses to switch it up, because you might see something you want to shoot at 20mm. Okay, I get that, but I shoot so little at wide angle that I don't miss it. You know, for landscape, I keep my Nikkor 20mm for landscape, and that's the only thing I ever use it for. I tried to use it a couple of times for various things, you know, just experimenting with it. But I'm just not a 20mm shooter. I just ain't into that. You know, it's a real struggle for me to compose a landscape image properly. For it to be an interesting image, it's just Glenn Hodges from England. Man, awesome. I love these international groups. This is cool. But I get to where I realize that, you know, I have aspirations to do all of these wonderful ideas with photography, but I end up not actually either falling in love with that version of photography, or I end up buying all the equipment. That's that 64 Chevrolet. Looks like all he lacks on it's the paint job. Sounds like the motor and the trucks are running great. But I wind up just like dabbling, I think is the right word for it. And I'll dabble and buy all this equipment to dabble around in a portion of the hobby. And then I've sunk all that money in it, and then it just sits on the shelf. It's just, wow. George, glad to see you here this morning. Awesome. Could you do with just one lens? Yeah. If I had to pick one lens, this here, Jacob asked that question. Could I do with just one lens? If I could just have one lens, it'd be the 50mm Summicron. That'd be the one I'd pick, because it's the most universal lens. It doesn't, you know, it doesn't allow for 200 millimeter field of view portraits, but I can move it between my CL and my SL2, and it kind of gives me the look of a 75 on the CL. So, you know, you kind of end up with two lenses in one by doing it that way. Let's see here. There's a pretty good comment came in. Let's see what it said. If only Nikon will make a 14-500 f1.4 that was only 4 inches in length, very light, very sharp, beautiful bokeh, autofocus, vibration reduction, and cost $100. Dude, they would own the camera market if they could do that. Man, yes, the perfect lens. But you know what? We'd end up buying like 50 other lenses anyway. It's sad to say, but we'd find something to complain about it. It's only 4 inches long. There would be something about it. But yeah, that's kind of this year's goal, is to pare down the equipment. And it comes from, well, I have two goals this year. My second goal is to build a NAS, what is a network attached storage solution. And the reason I want that, or I want a RAID, either way, I want a redundant backup of my photos. I only have them on one hard drive, so I have no backup. So if the hard drive fails, all I got is sending it to one of those data recovery places and getting them to extract it. And it's on those little lacy, whatever, they've got the orange rubber housing, and then you just plug them into the USB port. I have like 10 terabytes of video and photo information from the last 5 years, and there's zero backups. So that became very evident the other day when I was looking for a photo from a couple of years ago, and I realized I was having trouble getting one of the hard drives to be detected by my computer. I tried it on a different computer and it did detect it, and I was able to get into it. But that's going to be project number 2 for this year, is to get me a network attached storage, or preferably NAS. But if I can't get NAS going, then I'm going to get some kind of RAID system where I can redundantly back up my files. I need some sort of backup. It's just, yeah, I don't want to print 10 terabytes of photos, Jacob. I do print my photos, some of them. I print my favorites, and I print photo books. But like, most of it has to do with this YouTube channel. And if you want to go back, I'm starting to develop a archive deep enough to where if I want to refer to something from a previous video, it's on a different hard drive. And I've kind of ID'd what's on each one with a Sharpie, so I know what's in where. But you know, if I want to go get a piece of footage from a video 2 years ago and just drop it into the video for reference or what have you, then I want it to be there, you know. But yeah, that was the beauty of having negatives. You know, as long as you didn't have a house fire, you had a hard copy backup of your photos, and it was kind of neat. But you know, you still didn't have the redundant backup. I mean, I guess pros did that somehow. I guess you make double negatives somehow, make 2 sets. I've never seen that done. I was never a professional. Bass Angler says, a friend of mine has a Sigma 60-600, and unless he got an exceptional copy, that lens is impressive on sharpness. It is sharper than my 200-500 Nikon. Wow. It's incredible. 60-600. Jacob says, is it F-mount, Bass Angler? That's an incredible lens, dude. Yeah, here I am reading the comments, not talking. But yes, so the simplest solution for me is to liquidate them through eBay. I was sending them to like Robert's Camera and stuff, but it's easier to sell them on eBay. It really is. You just box them up and they're gone when you're done. You know, with Roberts and KEH, you have extra steps, and they give you, they pay you for it, but they pay you dealer, and you get a little more if you sell it yourself, you know, because they've got to be able to resell it and make some. That's the whole point of them buying it, you know. So I'll probably just drop a lens or two on eBay every month until I've got it pared down. But yeah, there's cabinets just filled with lenses. So many lenses. But yeah, the network storage and the lenses are the two heavy hitters, and I really want to replace my editing computer this year. I didn't realize it until I think it was last week one day that my editing computer is 6 years old, and in computer worlds that's ancient. So I'm gonna get with Aaron. He's gonna work with me on building a pretty hot rod editing machine, so I'm gonna get that done later this year too. I've kicked the idea around a time or two in the past, but then I fixed my hard drive problem by just putting in a bigger solid state hard drive, and that got my problem. So I ran out of storage on my primary drive because it only had this little tiny one in it for some reason. But yeah, you can buy the new ones and it'll clone it, and then you just plug in the new one and suddenly you have a terabyte on your primary drive again. So I've got that fixed, so it'll work, but it's slow, and I'm ready for it to go a lot faster. I did look at those M1 Max like Phil bought. He got one with the M1 chip, and that thing seems to be pretty hot rod. But all of my software is around Windows, so I'm kind of in the Windows ethos on my editing now, and I really don't want to have to like try and find Mac versions of everything. I don't edit photos in Photoshop, so I have to use Windows. I'm using Exposure 7 is my photo editing software. Greg Skaz, man, I ain't seen you on here in ages. Top of the morning to you too. How are the girls? I seen they were making some kind of scary mess. Good morning, Terry. Yeah, it's raining in Kentucky. Let's see if once it dies down. See all the blue? So there's the highway I was talking about. If I get back over here and get the sky out of frame, let's see. Raining, wow. Mine is 8-year-olds. Aaron was laughing at it last week when he was helping me set it. Well, you got Windows 7? F mount, yes. Jacob's looking at the 1-400 Z mount. That'd be a nice lens, dude. That 1-400 is going to be, well, it's next level. It really is. All that new Z mount stuff that Nikon's dropping, it's impressive. I like the 400 F28 that has the integrated teleconverter built into the lens internally, so you don't even have to like open it up or attach it to the back. It's not even like a cartridge slide in deal or anything. It's just a switch you throw on the lens body. That's pretty impressive. That was engineering, because you know, to cram that in there and get it out of the way when you're not using it, that was impressive to me. No, it's Windows 10. Let's see. I wish it would go back to Windows XP. I think Windows XP was limited on its architecture and how it addressed things, and now computers have a much larger mechanical architecture, so the software is written to basically exploit that mechanical growth. So Windows XP would be like hobbling your computer. It really would. Let's see what we got here. 400 millimeter Z mount is next level. Dollar amount. Okay. So you know, let me pull this back around. I'm not getting much light on me under this canopy. I figured the reflected light off of the, you know, the building across the street and such would light me up better than it is. But I can come out of this jacket now. It's done got warm enough down here that you can actually take your jacket off. Isn't that interesting? People out riding their Harleys. Ah, Phil's here. Yeah, everybody click the thumbs up if you haven't done it yet. It somehow supposedly helps. Ken Bear. How you doing, Ken? Thank you for stopping in. So what are y'all goals for this year in photography as far as organization or, you know, equipment management? Because people don't think about those things a whole lot. It's kind of strange for some reason. You know, we always worry about getting out to locations or getting the next piece of gear, but we don't ever think about, do we really need to keep all this stuff lingering around that we never use? You know, clutter is a big problem for me especially. I've just been trying to figure out basically a better way of managing that, and and this is how I'm going to do it. I'm just going to get rid of some stuff that I don't use, because it's taken me a while to kind of settle in and figure it out, but I've kind of figured out what I like to shoot. And now that I've figured that out, I'm just gonna focus on what I enjoy. Jacob Jurg has he says, as he says it, I will stick to the buy one, sell one doctrine. That's a zero growth doctrine, and that's a good one. That's a good idea. I haven't followed that, so so now here I am having to reduce. Yeah, but yeah, there's so many cars now. I wasn't expecting the highway to be this active. I don't know why, but I was kind of figuring that it would be. When I pulled down here, it was a lot slower than it is now. All right, here's another question that should get some people talking. What do y'all think about the Z9 Gen 2 firmware update? The big buzz is, who was it that called him out? Was it Matt Irwin? No. I think it was Vahography. I watched Vanhography or Vahography. He's a wedding photographer in California. He's got a little channel. He does a lot of live streams and brings on other prominent channels. And he did a response video to one of Tony Northrup's, and apparently I haven't watched Tony's video myself. I haven't seen one of his videos in over a year. He apparently he bashed Nikon pretty hard in that the Gen 2 firmware update should have came with the camera or something like that. And that was the only good thing he had to say, apparently. You know, the way he complained about it a lot. But it was kind of impressive that even though everybody knows that the Z9 is, well, it sets the standards in a lot of ways, it's becoming the de facto benchmark in future design of cameras. He doesn't like it for some reason, and there's a lot of speculation there. I'm not going to go down the road of speculation. That can happen in the comments. But it's interesting to see that he still points people towards Canon and Sony only, when I see so many successful commercial photographers shooting Nikon equipment. It's just strange to me. And making beautiful work with it. Terry says, my wife's eyebrows just went up and she gave me that look when you talked about too much stuff. I feel your pain, brother. Ken's idea or goals is more pictures, better mastery of LRC. Is that Lightroom? I have aggressively eliminated all pieces and items, 3 Leica cameras and 3 lenses. That's pretty thin. For me, I've got my 24 to 90, I've got this 50 mil. I've got some R mount glass. Those are the only 2 L mount lenses I currently own. The 50 millimeter Summicron R is on my R8. I actually got an R8 film camera here a while back, actually last fall. And I've been shooting a roll of film a month was the goal. I haven't been doing it. So I shot a couple rolls a week or 2 ago, but that's an aside. But for the most part, I've been trying to figure out what kind of photography I like. And once you figured that out, it's a lot easier to figure out what equipment you need to do that photography. Because it's interesting, like street photographers they'll buy the little Ricoh GR3. That's it. They're done. Maybe buy a second GR3 and set it up exactly the same. So if they break one, they've got a spare. And they're done. One and done, you know. That's where I want to get to, is get down to the kit that I use and nothing else. And that way I don't have to lug all that hardware around. I don't have to debate, do I need to take this lens or this lens on a trip? I just know. Well, I've settled, a lot of it has settled out over the last year and a half, 2 years maybe. I figured out that I like my Z50 and the 500 phase Fresnel for wildlife. The CL with the 35 if I'm just walking around or I'm hanging out with family or something. And this SL2 and this 50 millimeter is if I'm serious about getting really good photos. That's a really wonderful camera for that. But it's like if I'm doing product photography, I'll use the SL2. Even if you down res it, the 45 megapixel file allows for like squaring and stuff, and you don't lose any resolution of the item. You know, if your camera's out of level, you can fix all that and still have tons of data. So yeah, that camera's not going anywhere. But let's see, am I missing something here? Jacob says Northrop is a sales guy, his wife is a better photographer. I've heard that too. I've heard that more than once, that Chelsea was always the better photographer of the two. And when you see most of the photos that they do share, they're her photos. I've seen that, I've noticed that too. But no, he's not a bad photographer because he's done some photo shoots with Chelsea. I remember from back in the day that he's a good photographer. He can do it. He knows what he's doing when he comes to taking photos. But they're more into wildlife than anything. Scott Patterson, how are you this morning? That's true, Jacob. She carries around the D850 and the 600 F4. And she gets the pictures. Ken Bear says Q2 and a Q2 monochrome means I have 4 lenses. I find that these 2 cameras get me through much of the trips that I go on with my wife. But when I'm doing landscape, the SL2 is king. I don't know. I like the idea of the Q2, but it has an optical viewfinder, and I struggle with the optical viewfinders now. It's just a hassle for me. So that's why I'm not into the M family or the Qs. I like the EVF on my SL2 and my CL. I dial the diopter to fit my eye without my glasses, because my eyes, I can't see up close. That's why I wear these. They got readers in them. They're cheaters. It's built into the lens. If I move it slow enough, you can kind of see the magnifications down here. And then there's a little bit of correction in the regular part that fixes astigmatism, makes stuff at distance have double edges or something. But it's just barely. I can see fine at distance without them. It's just that everything has like a slight double image. And I just can't see up close to read. I have to hold everything like this far away to read it now. 53. But because of that, I can adjust the camera's diopter enough that I can see the EVF without my glasses. So I look over it when I'm shooting photos. I'll push my hat back and I'll look through the EVF over my lenses. That way, if I take my glasses off or they get a smudge on them or whatever, I can just take them off, hang them on my shirt, and continue to shoot. And I can see just fine. See my photos, see everything. Of course, what that means is when I hand my camera to somebody and tell them, look through the viewfinder and take a picture, it's blurry for them. I've learned that over time. Because what I'd do is I'd hand them the camera and they would focus it until I was visually in focus through the EVF. Problem was, the focus wasn't on anymore and I would be blurry in the pictures. I've done that more than once. It took me a while to figure that out. I also find that I don't shoot huge panoramic vistas ever. I don't live in an area where that's something you can do easily. So because of that, I just don't shoot them. Suzuki GSXR. But since I don't shoot big panoramic vistas, I don't have any super wide glass. And fortunately, I haven't ever bought any like super wide glass to do that with. And because it would just sit if I did. If I was going to go on a trip to Iceland and, go on a photo excursion with, say, Thomas Heaton or one of them deals where you sign up and do one, I would actually rent the lens for the trip. That way I wouldn't have to sink all the money I own into this lens that's just going to sit on the shelf. I've learned, rent the lens for the job at hand. If you're just going to do something once or maybe once a year, it honestly would work out to your favor just to rent the glass for the day. If you're going on you could probably rent the 14 to 24 Nikkor for, $100 a week. That's a sight cheaper than the $3,000 or whatever it costs to buy that lens. So it just makes sense to me. That way you don't have to try and spend all your time trying to resell it when you get back, or worry about it getting lost, broken, stolen, any number of horrible fates. It just makes so much sense to me that if you don't use it regularly, why invest all your money in it? Just make it part of the trip expenses to rent the lens you need. That's the way I would see it, Bass Angler says, yes, over the last year I have noticed that he says that his arms are getting too short to read too, LOL. I don't know what that is. I didn't know I had T-Rex arm problems, but yeah, it's like I can't hold the book out for my eyes to see it as easily. And I can't show you guys because I'm using my phone, but there's an app on an iPhone called Magnifier. It's built into the phone. You have to go in and turn it on as a app button. You can Google it. It's pretty easy to find out how to do. And once it drops the app button on your desktop, if you want to call it that, you turn it on and it just makes the camera app come on with a magnification slider. And it works really well. It's like finding splinters in your finger or reading little bitty print for some reason that you might have. Let's see. I'll read this while this semi goes by. Jacob says I had to cut back to one camera and 4 lenses. I'd pick the Z7, the 50 f1.8, which is basically what I have here in Leica's ethos, the 500mm phase Fresnel, and the size 35 Distagon, and my 50mm Leica Summicron Rigid. Nice. That 35mm Distagon's an interesting choice. Ken Barry says he adjusted the diopters on the 3 cameras to use them without glasses. You do the same thing. The Q2 and the Q2 monochrome often act as, or is that a Q monochrome? often act as preliminary scouting cameras, and then I come back with the telephoto to get the actual photos that I want. And I've added, and there should be some little parentheses. I added a little bit of text to his comment, but that's a good way to do that. A lot of times, if I'm scouting, as you call it, I'll typically take the SL2 and the 50, because I can usually take a photo with that, and you can crop it down to quarter scale, and that's equivalent to zooming in to probably 150 millimeters. And you still have, what would that probably be? Somewhere around a 12 or 14 megapixel photo, It still looked good up to 11 by 14 easy. Bass Angler says his eyes went in about a month, period. I guess I'm officially old, but mentally I'm 25. He's got that Eddie Van Halen syndrome. Let's see. Greg Skaz says, on the topic of gear, I just got the 24-70 f2.8Z, Tiffin variable ND, and a Shimoto Explorer V2 camera backpack. I need to look into that and see what that is. I'm a bad backpack junkie too. Although I've kind of gotten back to my roots. I'm carrying the Everyday Messenger today. Haha, AVH, Eddie Van Halen. Oh yeah, everybody. I'm pretty sure Greg's the only one in this live stream currently that has a Z9 in hand. He bought one. He's a professional photographer, and he shoots product photography and event photography. And he's a good friend of mine. He shoots the catalogs for our business, and among other things. But I'm pretty sure he's the only one in present company that has a Z9 in hand. I was kind of surprised to see that it come into him so quick, because nobody was getting them hardly, except people with 1 million subscribers on YouTube. I was kind of glad to see that they're actually starting to get into the hands of the common working pro, instead of just the really, really influential people, you might say. Which, then again, Greg might be into more influential circles than I'm aware of. Did he let you borrow the Z9? No, I ain't seen it, except in photos. But I've seen it in photos. And the background was at his house. Now, he is good at Photoshop, come to think of it. Super good at Photoshop. Huh. He was the first person to ever show me that you didn't need the big glass to do good work. The first time he shot my catalog for me, he showed up with the 70-200 f4. And I was like, why such a small lens? I'm like, well, he stops everything down. So why spend the money on the big glass and have to deal with all that weight and size when he never used it? Since he wants everything in focus anyway, he was shooting it like f11 or f16 or something. It's like, there's no need for the big glass. And and that was the first time I ever stopped and really thought about, why am I doing this? That, just to remember that is because up to that point, if everybody that you've seen on YouTube would preach the Holy Trinity, the 14-24, 24-70, 70-200 f2.8s. Get the Holy Trinity, you don't need anything else. And although there is a lot of truth in that, it will cover all your bases with really exceptional lenses. It's just that for a lot of people, it's unnecessary. And those lenses are not cheap. And people will buy that set of lenses to cover all those focal lengths and then end up shooting bird photography. So they wind up buying, the 2-500 super zoom, and they never get out those other lenses because they want to shoot little songbirds, and that's just their thing. Or they want to shoot, like somebody was saying earlier, they want to shoot landscapes, so they've got the 14-24. and then or they become a real estate photographer, and the 14 to 24 is the only lens on their camera. But because they listened to some prominent YouTuber, they bought all three, and two of them just sit in the bag. It might get mounted once a year, maybe, and that falls right back to what I was saying to start with. Remember the Chevrolet Avalanche? Yeah, it just went by right there. If you rewind the stream, you look right there, you'll see it go by. That was an Avalanche that was jacked up on big, like 35s or 38s. It was kind of interesting. I'd never seen one lifted. but yeah, so 2022 is going to be the year I downsize. Now, that ain't to say I won't get some new camera gear, because I'm probably gonna, if things don't change too drastically, I will probably sell my D810. Yeah, you heard that right. I'm probably gonna sell the D810 as well. Same boy that bought the 7200 was inquiring about it, and I literally use it to shoot thumbnail photos for these videos. I can do that with any camera. But the reason I use the D810 to shoot the thumbnails is just so it'll see use and it just won't sit. And because the worst thing for electronics, because I come from an electronic background, what happens to electronics is two things. Hopefully that wind ain't causing you a lot of trouble with wind noise. Drop me a comment. Is the wind noise getting bad? It's just blowing on me pretty good here. I don't know if y'all can see it right. Y'all see them leaves moving around? Okay, good. I think the mic's on this side of the camera, so it probably is on out of the direct wind stream. Good, thanks, Phil. Now, where was I? Got distracted by the wind blowing on me. Replace the D810 with a Z7. No regrets. Oh, yeah. The worst thing for electronics, two things happen to electronics that don't get used. The solder joints corrode over time and you get bad electrical connections. And the electrolytic capacitors, the little round ones with the like blue paint on them a lot of times, or they'll be silver sometimes, or orange, and they look like little tiny cans. What that is inside of that can is basically two strips of aluminum foil that have a thin layer of a liquid gel between them. And that gel is non-conductive, and they roll them up together into a spiral, kind of like a cinnamon roll. And that generates a super high amount of capacitance in a very small area. Well, that gel, if it isn't charged regularly, will dry out. And when it dries out, the capacitor dies. And at first it'll just lose capacitance. And usually that shows up in audio equipment as the motorboat sound. You start getting power supply hum in your output on your audio. You start hearing this meh. Got a YouTube comment. But that means your power supply filter capacitors went bad and it needs replacing. So you don't want electronics to just sit for prolonged periods of time without having voltage applied to them. That it will damage them to sit too long. The corrosion, it just happens in humidity. It's just a fact, you know. What typically happens is the post on the component gets corrosion, and that corrosion wicks down underneath the solder where it's bonded mechanically. But it'll still corrode in between them over time. And once you get solder corrosion, the only way to fix that is to resolder it or rebuild the board with new components. And it can be done. People have done it a lot, especially in like ham radio. Like there's a bunch of, the older radios are all discrete components anyway, so you can get the parts. And they'll just sit down with a board and just slowly but surely replace every component with new ones and basically have a brand new radio when they're done. It just takes time, you know. That's some wind right there. Let's see what we got here. I'm finally caught up. was watching at double speed. Scott Patterson says, I'm going to sell my D850 for a Z7 II. I have mixed emotions about doing that. I watch a YouTuber, his name is Adrian Alford. Alfred or Alfred, I don't remember. Phil might correct me on that one. But he's an Australian landscape and wildlife photographer, and he does beautiful photos. And he still shoots his D850 some. He got a Z7. Alfred, okay, it's an O-R-D. Yeah, thank you. And y'all give him some love. Go over to his channel and give him a subscribe, because he's an awesome photographer. His channel, his videography is on point. He's good at YouTube. So you'll probably fall in love with his videos just because he's good. Just be honest with you. He can keep you interested. He's got some comedic relief he mixes in. He's good. And like Phil says, he's a super nice dude as well. He's a wonderful guy. From what I can tell from half a planet away, he's a great guy. So, you know, I've never met him in person because he's on YouTube. But I really, really like Adrian's videos. And he can take some of the most amazing landscape photos. And he still uses his D850. And he shoots his wildlife photography with his D850. He loves it. He said that, you know, he did a big deal last year about picking a new camera. And he got a Z7 Gen 1. And he done the Sony A1. He got a loaner from Sony of Australia. And he did the Canon, which one was it, Phil? The R3 or the R5? It was the high megapixel one, I'm pretty sure. And he used it from Canon of Australia. And he wound up picking the Z7 because of his ethos. He's already got lenses that'll work on it. And he was shooting landscape with that camera. And he's going to use his D850 for wildlife, if I understood him to say it right. And honestly, he'll probably move to a Z9 when he gets out of the D850, because the Z9 does what the D850 does. We all know it's the D850 replacement. You know, it's going to be, I mean, technically it's a flagship because of the way its body is engineered, but it has the capability to do what the D850 does. So R5, he used an R5, okay. But yeah, he was, how do I word that? He didn't jump on board with the mirrorless game right away. He waited until there was viable options that could compete with his D850. That was the point. He wasn't in a hurry to jump on board the new style train. He wanted to wait and see that they actually had a camera that could do what he can get the D850 to do already. And nobody could do that until recently. It's, you know, so yeah, if you move to the Z7 II, I'd be curious to know how well it performs if you're shooting moving wildlife especially. That would be a really good note. He don't like the large body on the Z9, so he's not a pro camera body user. See, I almost always end up with the vertical grip on my camera, so my D850 has had one on it pretty much since I bought it. So that don't bother me. It's interesting, but it has the big battery too out of their pro bodies, so you get that super battery life. Same thing for Raymond. Interesting. I didn't know that. I thought Ray was all about a Z9. Let me see. I missed a couple of Phil's comments here. Let me catch up. Phil said he had to resolder some connections on the monitor of an Asteroids Deluxe machine in '81. Didn't even have to add solder. Just heat it up again and it was fixed. Yeah. Sometimes the manufacturer will generate a cold solder joint where it doesn't bond. The solder sticks to one part but not to both because they didn't heat both parts equally. And literally that's a way that they fix a lot of like computer problems or graphics cards. They say that generate problems over time is, I think Ray was talking about this. They put them in the oven and heat the whole card up to like 500 degrees, and it actually, well, what they call reflow all the solder joints. They just kind of melt and flow back together, then you just cool it back down. It's kind of neat to know that. Let's see. I know that reflowing solder joints is a pretty common thing in computer repair too. Have the same problem with my digital odometer on my 99 F-150. I'm too lazy to take it apart and the entire dash to fix it. Yeah, just don't worry about it. Just drive it. It's a 99. I mean, oh, Ray likes the battery grip in the Z9. Okay. Yeah, Bass Angler says, same here. I like the big camera body. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, with a hand the size of my hand, it fits well. That was the one reason that I like the SL2 so well. Is I don't know if you can see it because it's so dark. Let me see if I can block out the sun here so it'll brighten the image up. No, you can't tell. It's undercut here, okay? And my hand fits the whole thing without my finger falling off the bottom. So, you know, you got this section where your fingers bite this rubberized coated undergrip, and it feels good in the hand. They make a grip for it, but I don't need it. I like this kind of footprint. This is about right. I've just gotten to where I just flip it, and I run the arm over and the arm under. I mean, I'm not hooked on either mode for some reason. It's kind of weird. Does this thing even got a charged battery in it? Yes. Okay. I'm gonna go shoot in a little while, and I wanted to make sure the camera wasn't dead. David has those jawbreaker hands for those that never met him. Hello. I shake hands with Baptist ministers. Man, you got to be ready. You don't have some hand grip strength, they'll just break your joints. Ray's on the list for his Z9. I'm pretty sure he's ordered it, didn't he? I know he got into Nikon Professional Services, so he's got to be getting close. I don't remember for sure, but let's see. I would show you my video collection rig, but I think I'm about to rework it. I have some confessing to do. I don't like doing this because it's kind of like eating humble pie. I'm not super into doing that, but especially when the guy who introduced me to the product is in my stream in the comments currently. But I've been shooting my videos. This is my whole YouTube channel vlogging rig. It fits in this little pouch, okay? It has the Osmo Action, and this is the little tripod standee base so you can stand it up and talk to the camera. All right. And it has the Zoom F1 field recorder with a lav mic. All right, I'll just keep that in there. And then there's some batteries. I have spare batteries for the camera I'm shooting, and then I've got video batteries for that's the recorder. It runs AAAs, and then in the corner of this bag is these little Osmo batteries. So that's all I carry, and it works. It works really well, and I put it on my belt, and I'm done. And I've got my camera and this, and that's all I have to walk around with. Phil showed me his Osmo Pocket Gen 2, the little gimbal talk to the thing, and the new one has a little lav mic, so you don't have to sync audio in post. Okay, that's the first big hurdle that it solves. And two, it's smaller than this. It's basically the perfect kit. And at first, I just wasn't really interested in getting a new piece of gear and just use this and go on. But with the whole process of downsizing and simplifying my life, I keep thinking about that device. And I seen the other day, I went on a street walk with Tim Childers, and he has the same exact rig, and it's nice. The gimbal is crazy good. It's shockingly good how well it works, honestly. And they've got this Gen 2 one dialed in. It actually does what the first one should have been doing, you know. I'm probably going to order that creator's kit because it would so simplify this process. I just need the little mic with the wind muffy thing, stick it on your shirt so you look like you have a caterpillar on your shirt, and off you go. And it was so much simpler than this. Because this is kind of a headache. You got to remember to turn them both on, and then I have to sync them in post, and then delete the original track from the video rig because it's real tinny. It don't have good dynamic range. This has so much better sound. You know, and it would also free this up to become a atmospheric recorder. Or if I was talking to somebody else, I could put the double head. I have the attachment for this that allows me to put what they call it, the stereo head on. It's got the 2 cross mics. So I can stick that on it and record around me and still have my personal audio on my Osmo. So yeah, I'm really, really looking at doing that. Yeah, probably within the next month or so. So thanks, Phil. I appreciate you dialing me in on that. And I tried to scoff at it and just say I was going to do this, but this is pretty much, this slows me way down. It really does. I started looking at the process that I use, and the process is just really burdensome. That was the one thing that was nice about shooting with the Z50 with the little tiny Rode Video Micro plugged into it, was the audio was automatically synced, and it had good dynamic range, but I couldn't walk away from the camera. So, you know, if you walked away from the camera, your audio went away. That was the problem with that, and that's the reason I went to the lav mic with the audio recorder, because then I could walk around, and you know, I could be way back here in the picture and still be in, and the audio still sound good. And that's why I'm moving. That's why I moved to what I'm shooting with now from the Z50, and it's not my vlogging rig anymore, because I don't shoot like Casey Neistat vlogs. For Casey Neistat, that system works. For me, it don't. And it took me a while to learn that. But yeah, thanks, Phil. I appreciate you turning me on to that. And I should have listened sooner. Should have just went ahead when you showed it to me the first time. When I should have went ahead and ordered it and then eBayed all this stuff. Razak Idris, how you doing? Thank you for stopping into the stream. Appreciate that. Let's see. He's on a list at several places, but has not ordered. Oh, okay, so he's got the notification list. Might go to the Chattanooga market tomorrow morning before the softball game. I'm going to Dutton, Alabama tomorrow morning. They're having a singing at a church called Shady Grove, and I'm going to go down to the singing, sing a little, because I'm not super great at it, so I don't sing a lot, and I'll take photos of the singing. They'll be on my Facebook page by the end of the day. Osmo Action is good. Yeah. I learned that it has a built-in wireless mic system from Tim. As soon as I saw that, I was done. And I think you'll enjoy it. Yeah. When you showed me the storage shell that you store it in and how it automatically parks so you don't have to fight it to get it in the shell, and yeah, I can get it. I understand. I'll look for the pictures. Cool. Yeah. Yeah, I'll have those tomorrow. I'm gonna work on well, actually, I won't have the trouble with the exposure like I had at the Antioch singing, because there's no windows behind where I'll be. I always sit in the bass section because I sing bass, and I'll stay over to the corner of the bass and the tenor, and I shoot across into the center leader circle. So fortunately with Shady Grove, the windows are behind me and not in front of me, because on that end they built a wing off that side and put the fellowship hall behind that side, so it's a solid wall. So I'm gonna look out tomorrow and I'll get good photos. The exposure will be consistent. I was kind of chasing it around because I'd pan across that window and it'd darken everything inside the building. I was like, crud. So Then I tried to set it to manual settings, and then what happened was the sun would go behind a cloud and the light would diminish coming in the windows and everything would get dark. Like, I can't win for losing. So here I am sorting through pictures and raising exposure on some of them. I don't know. It's just a frustrating event sometimes like that. You just can't win for losing. But yeah, that's where I'll be all day, unfortunately. Because I'd like to link up and shoot at the market with you. That'd be a lot of fun. We get out our little tiny cameras. You get your ZFC out and I get out my CL with the 35 and we'll see what we can find down there. That'd be a lot of fun. Man, these live streams go by so fast. It's already an hour. We're at 61 minutes right now. That's the 61-minute mark. So you'll be shooting the ZSC and the Viltrox 56-1.4. 56, man, that's a long lens for inside the market. I figured you'd be shooting something like the 18 or a 24 or something narrower so you can get closer. That 56 is gonna be long. Super windy again. Whew. So let's see. I need everybody to drop a comment on what country you're in. I want to know, I want to see a list of the countries right now. Testing it. Oh, okay. You must have got in with Viltrox because you've had a bunch of these lenses. You're not buying all that glass, are you? You're right though, wider glass is better there. So where's everybody at that's watching right now? I know Phil's in the United States. Bass Angler's in the United States. Jacob Jurg is in Europe somewhere. I don't remember exactly what country. Volunteer country. Ken's in the US, okay. Let's see. GH Photo, that's George. He's in Chicago, so he's a US operator. Usually we have a couple. The Netherlands, that's awesome. Razorback land. Scott Peterson's from Canada, awesome. I'm just trying to see where the spread of this live stream has went to. Just see how far it's reaching. A lot of times we have a couple from Australia that watch, but it's, you know, it's what, middle of the night there, I think. Pretty sure it's late at night. And that's awesome. So we're on 2 continents. That's cool. The internet's awesome. It allows us to do so much stuff. What if I was to do this? Yeah, that helps exposure a little. Should have done that a long time ago. Y'all get this cool reflection in this window as well. That's the bank parking lot. People are pulling out of the bank. Let's see. Might have to wrap this stream up in just a few minutes, guys. I have to go to Chattanooga. And the drive time is about how much time I have left. So, it's been a lot of fun, guys. Of course, I think I straight derailed the stream from what I said in my post yesterday, but we've had fun. And it's interesting to see what you guys have to say about the stuff. But, yeah. If y'all have any like thoughts on what you could do to like improve your organization of your files or your equipment or equipment management, drop it in the comments. I always read the comments even after the stream ends. I still read them. I'm one of those people that is kind of obsessed with that. I try to reply to all of them too, but sometimes it just kind of gets away from me. I've only missed a couple of videos worth of comments where I didn't get to reply to them. But yeah. Thank you, Phil. I appreciate you dropping in because I know you're busy today. So I really do appreciate that. And Bass Angler, thank you for being here for me too. I appreciate you too. And the rest of you. Dude, this has been wonderful. Yeah. So look here. I smell somebody burning something. I think I see it. I don't know who that is. Ah, Hassan, you're late to the party. I'm sorry. I'm about to sign off. So, thank you for dropping by, Hassan. Hit the thumbs up if y'all haven't done it yet. I'd like to see 10 before we get out of here. Now go get on DMR. Actually, I think I'm gonna start activating a POTA station regularly. I'm gonna get my QRP CW radio out, and I'm gonna start stringing up a wire antenna and seeing if I can't get some contacts on it. I'm at 9. One more, we'll have 10 thumbs up. There we are. There's 10. Woo! I appreciate you guys so much. So until next time, get your camera out and go take a picture with it. And Bass Angler, there'll probably be videos about that whole ham radio stuff, and I'll probably just stick them on this channel anyway. Live streaming CW, yeah, that'll get a lot of views. Live stream about CW, now that might get some views. Probably not, but you know, most people watch my... Dude, I didn't know you was a ham. Look, so many people that I know are ham radio operators and I don't even know it. VA3 WSP, Scott Patterson. Sorry about me butchering your name and calling you Peterson. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm WK4DS. I got me a vanity call about a year, maybe 6 months after I upgraded to extra class. So I've had that call sign almost 20 years. It renews in 2025. So yeah, I'm gonna start doing some more activity. I got my radio out the other day and kind of got back in the groove of it. So my base station, you know, I was talking about that whole not letting your electronics sit for a long period of time. I need to juice up my base rig. I got to get that K5 EVH. Telling you, dude. All you do is fill in the form, mail them the money. It's like 20 bucks or something. Get a vanity call, it ain't much. I used my dynamically assigned call until I got to amateur extra though. That way I didn't have to deal with the whole making a mess of things on the upgrade tickets. But yeah, if you're gonna get general, I'd stick with what you got till you got to general. Then because I don't really recommend extra class unless you're into Morse code, because that's all you really gain in bandwidth is you get a little bit more spectrum that you can access, and it's not really super worth it. I just did it because I wanted to do it. Yeah. Anyway, I am running off on a rabbit hole and trying to sign off. Charles Davis. How you doing, Charles? Yeah. But yeah, I gotta go, unfortunately. But yeah, there's more to come on all that. So until next time, get your camera out and go take a picture with it. All right, we'll see you later. Bye bye. You have a good one too, Bass Angler. Thank you. We'll go back to the beginning. Yeah, I just talk about how I need to downsize and get better backup on my files. See y'all later.